After many delays, setbacks and reworks, Amazon Game Studios' shining light, or, as some might say, last hope, is here. Welcome all to New World. Money, it seems, can't buy you instant success. At least not in the game development sector, as Amazon Game Studios has found out. Despite the financial might of their namesake and global powerhouse Amazon being behind them, their delve into game development has so far been, well, flat. From projects met with unanimous dislike, resulting in 11th hour cancellations, to those that never even made it off the drawing board, Amazon Game Studios hasn't had much to write home about, to the point where it wouldn't have been much of a shock had Jeff pulled the plug on the whole venture. Despite this, both he and the studio retain their faith in New World, even though it was met with a very mute response to its early testing phases, and even having a complete rework from a PvP-focused game to a more balanced PvPvE one. So, now it's out. Is it any good? Was it deserving of their retained faith? Well, that's what we're here to take a look at. As far as player count goes, it certainly looks like it is. Jeff obviously feels that way, and maybe financially that means it has been. But stats like this only tell you so much. After all, it was inevitable it was going to have a high player count. The MMORPG fan base has been crying out for years for a new contender to the crown, and New World, along with Ashes of Creation, are arguably the two most anticipated Western MMOs out there. Throw in some clever marketing in the form of twitching their purple-clad streaming service muscles and having a bunch of high-profile streamers start the hype train early for them, along with giving away various freebies as incentives to jump in, the high player count was not a surprise to many, except, apparently, Amazon themselves. Despite their parent company owning a server farm and more than a hint that this was going to be an issue in the game's early testing phases, their server capacity was nowhere near big enough to cope with the day one rush. Surely they had an idea of the number of copies sold and given away to ensure the farm had grown enough servers for day one. Still, this has been well documented and I don't want to keep flogging a dead donkey, and so instead we'll concentrate on the game itself. Is it destined for greatness, or is it a shipwreck waiting to happen? Despite a whole arm's length of issues at launch and still today, spoiler alert, it's pretty good, you know. The world is beautiful, one of, if not the best looking MMORPG out there at the moment. The sense of scale is impressive, with trees towering over you, swaying in the wind, mountains lurking on the horizon, teasing the next zone. I'm no graphics whore, but in a game that wants you to spend hundreds if not thousands of hours in it, it certainly helps with the immersion and makes mundane gathering tasks and fetch and kill quests less tedious when you spend just as much time looking at the vistas and the rays of light piercing through the trees. Speaking of the mundane, crafting, gathering, it's never been for me. Despite coming from FF14, where the crafting system is pretty damn good, it just doesn't appeal. It bores me, it drags on. But in this game, whether it be the world around you as you're doing it, the sounds, the sights, who knows. But this one, I gather till the end of the days. Gathering is simple, it's just point and click. Crafting, you click on what you want, you press the button. That's all there is to it. Yeah, I keep doing it. I keep coming back. And I'm not the only one. Company friends, everyone I come across, fellow YouTubers, they all love the gathering and crafting system here. There's something satisfying in hacking at a tree until you hear that telltale crack and it falls to the ground. It may be simple, but in other games when the tree just disappears or even just stays there, you don't get that satisfaction of seeing it tumble, seeing the boulder fall apart. It's a minor thing. It's so engaging. And then the sounds, the sound effects to run with it. The knocking of the axe on wood, the sounds reverberating down a valley as your mining pickaxe strikes rock. It's good. It leaves you wanting more. And then to head back to town after hours of gathering, to finally craft that purple item that you set upon the recipe of earlier in the day. The satisfying thud as you complete the craft. All you do is press 2 buttons. But God, it feels good. There's something New World's got to have praise for. The sound design here is incredible. Whether it be crafting, fighting, it's all high quality. That and the graphics are probably the 2 biggest things keeping me coming back at this moment in time. The UI for me also sits pretty high up in the RPG tree. It's sleek, it's modern, but it gives you the information you need. Sometimes throwing too much information at you isn't the right thing. Having it laid out simply in a beautiful manner certainly works for me. Graphics, UI, sound effects, sound design in general, it's all pretty top notch as far as I'm concerned. Maybe with the exception of striking a ghost. God, that sounds like I'm hitting a balloon and just drags me straight out of the game. But there's a pretty obvious red flag here. All of those points, they're all shallow, let's be honest. They keep me coming back for a little while, but long term, that's not enough. The game needs more. Does it have more? At this moment in time, it's difficult to say. Questing is terrible. Let's be honest here. They repeat. No variety whatsoever. Go here, collect this, kill so many enemies. There's nothing there. Not only that, but you'll pick up a quest in one area and it'll need you to walk 20 minutes in the other direction to complete it. You go there, you do it, you walk 20 minutes back, only to then be told you've got to walk 20 minutes back again. Why is the quest giver not next to the area where you perform the quest? It's pretty simple, yet they can't do it. In a game where there's complaints about mounts all day long, they could ease some of those by just fixing that simple item. Mounts, that's a question for another day. Enemy variety also falls into the lacking bracket. They could probably tell us that they have 100 different enemies in the game. But a wolf, a lion, a puma, a tiger, as far as I can tell, they all share the same animations. Fighting one is the same as fighting the other. The lost and the corrupted, most of their troops fall under the cannon fodder bracket, and they're all very samey. Eventually variety does come in, but it just feels too late. The early game, if you're not trying to hit level 60 as soon as you can, it starts to drag. I played the game with the intention of enjoying it as much as possible, taking my time, not rushing to level cap. But by the time I hit an enemy of a different variety to what I'd faced in my opening 20 and 30 hours, I was screaming out for more variety, and seeing the odd 1 or 2 wasn't enough. The Angry Earth look entirely different to those that have come before them. And they're good. I like them. I want more of them. But even so, some of them just fall under the reskin bracket of that which has come before. There are cool enemies out there. A bear made of rock comes to mind. He had his own special moves, and I was delighted when I came across him for the first time. But these moments feel few and far between. Although I would step in here and say I loved the fact that once the bear went down, I had to mine him, rather than skin him with my skinning knife. The Angry Earth Wolves equivalent. You kill them, you don't skin them, you have to chop them with your axe. That is cool. A little attention to detail that I like. Ultimately though, I'd be interested to see. I wasn't around for the launch of WoW and FF14. Was there much enemy variety on launch day? I couldn't tell you. But now, their enemy variety far outweighs what New World has to offer. It's unfair at this moment to compare New World to those two games. They've evolved far further, but I would be interested to know what their enemy variety was like on day one. Whether that be to give me a stick to bash New World with, or to give me some assurances that New World can hit those enemy variety heights later. Combat for me feels good. It's nowhere near as complex as a tab targeting system where you have to get your rotations down in amongst enemy attacks, nor is it as difficult as a Dark Souls game. But for me, it feels satisfying. Again, I would leap back to the sound design and the sound when you finally defeat your enemy. It works. It feels satisfying. I've seen a lot of complaints about the number of skills on offer. Not the total, but the total you can have equipped to your hotbar at any one time being 3, 6 if you include your second weapon. But for me, that's enough. With the combat style we have here, I don't need more than 3 at any one time. I've got enough to distract me with noticing the mining node in the background that I want to pick off in a minute, let alone worrying about any form of complex rotation. And so that lands us firmly in the lap of PvP. Open world PvP is pretty good, to be fair. I've enjoyed it. I've engaged in 1-on-1s and group battles. It's good fun. The war system, however, that's a hot mess at the moment. The wars themselves are basic. They're not complex enough. There's not enough going on. There's not enough mechanics. There's 3 capture points outside, bash down some doors, 1 capture point inside. Sure, you need tactics to do it. I get that. But offer me more. Give me something else to do rather than just zerging a point over and over again. Then there's the lag. The lag makes it unplayable. I won't break it down into too much detail, but the AoE spam just grinds the battle to a halt and makes it unplayable. In my server, we've actually agreed between all the factions to stop wars until Amazon comes to some sort of way of fixing this issue. The footage in the background is from some open world PvP that was actually organised between the factions on our server, just so that we could keep battling without being locked into the war system and its lag. But even this in the open world, you can see the lag that came about from all the different attacks going on. As I've alluded to already, the base PvP 1-on-1s is good, it's enjoyable. So I don't think it's a lost cause. I think Amazon can bring it back, solve the lag issues, add complexity to the wars. This is early in the game's lifespan, so I think that can come back from the brink and feel good. So what about the PvEers? What's the game got to offer them? What's the lore, the story like? Like many things in New World, and maybe like New World itself, it hints at something great. There's something great there waiting to be discovered, but it's just not quite there yet. The ancients, the world they've built, it's good, it's great. I'm interested, I want to know more. But the story doesn't really delve too deep. There's plenty of lore pages scattered around the place, and it'll be interesting to know once you start to read those, will it end up like Destiny's Grimoire system, where once you read them, the world is going deep and interesting, or will that fall flat as well? Amazon hinted that Eternum was El Dorado, it was Atlantis, it was the source of the Fountain of Youth. There's a lot here, a lot going on, but we can't find it in game. There's hints, there's bits, but it's not fully there. But again, this was a PvP focused game, and they shoehorned in the PvE elements relatively late into its production. What is here, taking that into consideration, is good, and over time they can certainly build on that. But I'm looking for the world to be fleshed out a bit more. It may seem that I'm bashing on New World here, listing items that are wrong with it, but I actually think the base of the game is good. It's got a lot of potential, and at that stage that's all we can ask for. I get an Elder Scrolls Online kind of feel. There's something there, there's a lot of history that can go on and form a great game. The launch is okay, but that's as good as it gets. But if it can turn it around and become an Elder Scrolls, I'll be happy with that. I enjoy playing the game, I enjoy being in the world. It's fun. I want more. And that's what gives me hope. Things like enemy variety can be added. Additional lore is an easy fix. Quest variety, again, can be added in expansions. These are all things that can be added. What you need is to get the core, the basics right, and that's good. Gameplay loops are fun. Crafting and gathering's excellent. The world is beautiful. It's interesting. It's got me hooked. It just now needs to flesh it out. It needs to add to it. Again, PvP at its most basic level is good. It's fun. Fix it and you've got something good on your hands. And that's why I recommend New World at this stage. It's fun. You can have a good time. At this early stage, the amount of gameplay you get for your money makes the purchase worthwhile in my mind. It's a no-brainer. Even if you just complete the main story and never pick up the game again, the amount of hours you would have put into it by that stage would have made it worthwhile the point of entry price. I haven't spoken about the bugs in the game of this video. There's many, but those should be patched. They should be fixed. There's many videos out there covering them if you want to look into them more. Here, I don't see the point. This is a first impressions. What does the game feel like? By the time you watch this video, half of those bugs would have been fixed. Well, at least they should be. Moving forward, I intend to cover other items, such as should there be mounts? Is there a need for a mini-map? What is the in-game cash shop like? Before giving an impression of endgame as well. I hope you join me for those videos too, and I thank you very much for watching.